When you're just starting out as a composer, it's so easy to get distracted by all these things that don't matter. But after nearly 10 years of exploring fancy new gear and sample libraries, watching endless tutorials, trying to perfect my website, I realized that there's really just 4 major things that I'd focus on first that would actually move the needle for me as a composer. So in this video, I'm gonna walk you through the changes I would make first to start building momentum and make real progress in your music career. So if I were to go back and I said to myself, today is gonna be the very start of my composing career, I would not use a broad goal like become a film composer. Instead, I would focus on clarity, getting super specific about what it is I actually want. It felt like I was chasing any and every opportunity that came my way. Like the very first project I got that was supposed to be a real gig, completely fell through because at no point did my goals align with the project itself. So today I would get super specific about what it is I want from composing, from my career itself. And to do that, I would first define my North Star. I'd ask myself what excites me the most, what type of projects do I really want to focus on, what's the style of music that brings me the most joy, and to all these questions, I would always ask myself, why? So for example, your North Star might be, I want to take on scoring gigs that are emotionally satisfying and creatively stimulating while also giving me the freedom to explore other hobbies and experiences. And then once you have that North Star in place, that one phrase that is kind of like the guiding light, break that down into big picture goals. These are long term. There's no deadline. It's more just about a direction. So you might say, I want to compose music for narrative-driven indie films. I want to write music that evokes a strong emotion from my audience. Maybe I want to establish ongoing relationships with a handful of filmmakers. And honestly, this example was inspired by my friend Cheska Navarro. She knows exactly the type of project she wants. She knows exactly the type of music that she wants. She knows who she wants to reach out to and who she wants to build an ongoing relationship with. And the way that she approaches her composing career is just incredibly intentional. And then once we have the North Star, the long-term goals, I would set 3-month goals because then that makes everything feel a bit quicker, a bit more actionable, and it feels like I could see more immediate progress. And I actually walked through my entire goal setting process in my last video, so definitely check that out if you're struggling with clarifying your own goals. The next change I would make is just not obsessing over trying to create a perfect website, trying to create a perfect portfolio. I would focus on building strong, meaningful relationships. Because as simple as it sounds, your opportunities are going to come from people. I used to spend so much time tweaking my website, tweaking my demos, hoping that somebody would find me. I would convince myself that I would start networking once I got my website colors right, or once I set up the contact form, as if that was magically going to attract potential leads and clients. Now I understand that actively building and fostering those relationships is what's going to bring in those opportunities faster than anything else. And as someone who is incredibly introverted, who always was nervous around group projects and was always scared to make connections, there is a way to do this that isn't gross, that doesn't feel like sleazy or salesy too. The first thing I would do is to define exactly who it is I want to connect with. Looking back at the North Star, I want to figure out who are the creatives that align with my long-term goals. Are you looking for an indie filmmaker who might need more emotional, dramatic music? Or are you looking for a sci-fi game developer who, might need unsettling atmospheric music? I actually have another video that might be able to help clarify this a little bit more. It's based on what I call the XYZ composer formula, and that's basically I help X achieve Y by offering or providing Z. So definitely check that out if you need help clarifying who you help, what you do, why you do it. So now that we have a general idea of who it is we're trying to connect with, the next thing I would do is to just start with your existing network. And more often than not, the immediate response to this is, well, I don't know anybody. I don't know anyone in the industry. I wouldn't even know where to begin. But try asking your friends, your peers, your mentors, if they know anyone that needs this specific type of music. How can you leverage your personal connections to get personal introductions. So let's say I go through that list. The next thing I would do is to engage in online or in-person communities. Maybe that means I try to find some filmmaker, game developer Discord groups, or I, am active in an online forum, or I actually go to local film festivals or events. But the key here isn't to just spam your link to your music or ask for work all the time. You want to ask questions. You want to offer feedback, somehow build more trust through engagement. And honestly, this is a huge reason why I love YouTube so much. I've met so many people because I decided to put myself out there on YouTube. And I just started by, walking through, giving my thoughts on libraries that I already owned, and over time I talked about my own composing career, struggles that kind of came up along the way. And through this is how I've been able to build trust and a bit of a community. And so if you are looking for a community of like-minded composers, maybe you're just starting out, or maybe you're trying to navigate your own composing career, I've actually just launched my brand new YouTube membership, which includes access to my exclusive Discord server. This is where we can all just hang out. Maybe you have questions that I can answer in future content. There's a channel where you can share your music specifically with the community, join content polls, and a lot more. I would love for you to join to help me get this thing off the ground. So if you are interested, definitely check out the link in the description down below. And then the last thing I would do to help me build those relationships is to do some cold outreach, but I would make it personal. I would research filmmakers and developers who I admire that are working on projects that mean something to me, and I would actually tailor my message around that. So instead of saying, I want to work with you, I'm a composer, all these I statements, these are statements that are disguised as like, I'm offering to help. I'm providing value, but really they are just a way for you to say like, I'm looking for work. So instead, focus on asking about their process, why the story itself is meaningful for them. You want to start a conversation that leads with genuine curiosity. Next, I would focus on creating a portfolio that is simple, that is effective, and relevant to the work that I want. Again, I want to emphasize that I'm specifically putting portfolio after I start building relationships, because it is so easy for us to procrastinate. It's so easy to fall into the perfectionism trap that in the end doesn't really help us get work, especially since reaching out, making connections is literally what's going to get us work in the first place. Before, I used to think that my demo reel needed to be elaborate and perfect, and I had to cover all my bases just in case some future client found it. But now looking back, I would focus on a simple, more targeted portfolio that aligns with the goals that I have in place and the relationships I'm trying to build. Like now, I would rather just hop on a call to discuss the project, figure out the type of music that's needed, as opposed to having my demo reel out there and let it do all the talking for me. And that is literally a lesson I learned from that very first gig, because at no point did we talk about the music that was needed. At no point did we hop on a phone call to really discuss scene by scene what this project needs. So if I were to start my portfolio over, I would first curate my strongest tracks that are in line with my goals. If, for example, I wanted to score dramas, I would highlight the tracks that fit that style. I would also make sure I'm focusing on quality over quantity. Again, you want to showcase your best work, even if it's only a couple of tracks. Because honestly, most people are not going to listen through every single track you have in its entirety. They're just skimming to get an idea of what your music sounds like. Number two, I would make sure that the portfolio itself is easy to share. It's easily accessible. Honestly, a simple SoundCloud or YouTube playlist link is all you really need to get you started. And then of course, as you grow and as you're doing this, there are more professional ways that you could show up. One example that I really like is ReelCrafter, and they do have a free version as well, but I think a lot of the perks and a lot of the benefits of ReelCrafter come from their paid subscription. So if you're just starting out, I wouldn't necessarily just drop all this money on subscriptions and things that you think you need, when honestly, a simple link is just fine to get you going. Personally, I use a dedicated audio player that I like that is embedded directly onto my demo reel page on my website. But just remember that if you're also focusing on building those relationships, a perfect website, a perfect demo reel, it's not going to be as necessary. And number 3 is to build an online presence that feels natural to you. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be on every single social media platform available. Instead, I would pick a platform that aligns with my strengths and one that I actually enjoy using. So, it could be text, it could be photos, videos, live streams. Consider which platforms do that thing and which ones you actually enjoy. It's not going to be a burden on you. And then I would consider the platform where my audience actually hangs out. But the most important thing is I would focus on sharing the story behind my music, not just the music itself. Because you might write fantastic music, but no one is going to care if you're not sharing who you are or why your music matters. Now, I'm not saying that you have to become a content creator or an influencer, but I do fully believe that you should get more comfortable putting yourself out there. And finally, I would focus on taking small, consistent actions instead of waiting on motivation to hit. I would try and create a sustainable routine that can keep me accountable even on the days where, I don't feel any sort of inspiration. So before, I used to work in bursts. If something inspired me, I would just dedicate all my time to doing that thing without really thinking about it. If there was a topic I thought I needed to learn, I would spend so much time building up templates because I needed to be prepared just in case. I would do all these things that I thought were important, but didn't actually move the needle. So then, after pouring all my energy into that thing, I would then get burnt out. And now looking back, it's very easy to see it's because I didn't have a system in place that could hold me accountable to my actual goals. And when everything feels important, I would then get paralyzed and not do anything at all. And now I know that consistency and actual reflection are better ways to help me build a composing career that I know I want. So today, the first thing I would do is to start small and then build and expand over time. So instead of creating these dramatic or massive lifestyle shifts overnight, I would focus on, daily, weekly, small actions that I can incorporate into my life already. I would ask myself, what's 1 to 3 things I could consistently do every day, every week that will ultimately bring me closer to my North Star or my long-term goals. Next, I would probably set up some sort of clear schedule, some sort of outline for the week. I know that as composers and musicians, we like the creative side of everything and not really the networking, not really the promotion, not really the music business. But the reality is that it's on us to find some sort of balance between composing and the creative side with, networking and marketing, all while continuing to develop our skills. So a simple schedule or routine that might work is Mondays through Wednesdays, I know that I'm just writing music, I'm composing. And then Thursdays, that you are reaching out to potential collaborators, and Fridays might be specifically for learning. So analyzing scores, watching tutorials, reading books, whatever it might be. Now, I know a lot of people might not like that type of structure, but the idea isn't to say that you're boxed in and you can't do any other thing on those days. But honestly, you want to be able to get comfortable with writing music, sitting down, even when you're not inspired, right? You want to turn that outreach or that skill development into weekly habits. Number 3 is to track your progress through some sort of system, whether it's journaling, whether it's using a spreadsheet or some sort of app like Apple Notes or Notion. Tracking and journaling over the long term has really helped me see patterns in myself that I think are easy to miss day to day. And I personally use my Maestromind Accelerator, which is a Notion template that's helped me stay organized and way more accountable. And then number 4 is recognizing what actually works for you. I know that some people like the structure. I know I like the structure. Others are going to need a lot more flexibility. I think the key is to find a system that doesn't feel like a burden, but it gives you the structure to keep being creative as long as it gets you towards your long-term vision. So I totally think it's okay to experiment and adjust as you go. And if you've seen my past few videos, you'll know that I really want to focus on my composing career, and I want to find the projects that genuinely inspire me. So I've decided to push myself by committing to a 30-day composer challenge. The plan is to write music daily, so I'm thinking 2 60-minute sessions, and ideally that means I would like to finish a new piece, even if it means it's short, it's 30 seconds. I then want to research or connect with one potential client daily. Number 3 is to spend 30 minutes listening or analyzing scores. I'm going to read at least 10 pages of a music-related book. These could be biographies about music theory, music business, anything that can help expand my knowledge or mindset around music. And then finally, I want to share my daily progress publicly. I'm thinking I can post updates in stories on Instagram, maybe do YouTube shorts, post photos and, clips of the music. Now, my goal isn't to be perfect every day. I know that's not going to happen. Some days are going to be better than others, but I want to get comfortable with posting and being public and being open about the process. I want to build up the muscle that I know can help me land more consistent composing gigs, projects that actually inspire me. And the thing is, everything that I would do if I were starting over actually starts from having a clear plan. But I also know that you're not only defining a goal, but you then have to act on it. And I get that that can be difficult to do on your own. So that's why I put together an entire video breaking down my personal goal setting system. It's helped me stay focused and actually make those long-term goals feel way more achievable. So I'll see you over there. And as always, happy composing.